10 cigarettes that only true Indians remember. Do you remember when every chai shop had a haze of smoke floating between laughter and discussions about cricket? There was a time in India when cigarettes were not just a vice, but a symbol. A small roll of paper that spoke of class, rebellion, and dreams. From the laborers on the platforms of Mumbai to the poets in Kolkata, everyone had their brand, their style, and their story. The smell of tobacco mingled with that of masala chai. Trains sounded in the distance, and on every corner someone lit a cigarette that marked the beginning of an endless conversation. Today we will take a trip back in time, to an India that no longer exists, to relive 10 brands of cigarettes that only true Indians remember. Perhaps you stole one from your father's drawer, or simply recognize the aroma that lingered in the air after a black and white film. Get ready, because what you are about to hear is not just history, it is smoke turned into memory. 1. Charminar, the soul in smoke of old India. In the history of Indian tobacco, there are names that disappeared like smoke, but Charminar continues to float in the collective memory. Born in the late 1940s, this cigarette was named after the majestic monument in Hyderabad, and from its inception, it became a symbol of South Indian identity. Manufactured by the Hyderabad Deccan Cigarette Factory, Charminar was not just a brand, it was a statement of local pride and national character. In those post-independence years, when India was searching for its own voice, Charminar positioned itself as the cigarette for men and women who did not need to import foreign glamour. Its packaging was simple, with yellow and red tones evoking the stone of the monument of the same name. But what really made it special was its flavor. Strong, earthy, unfiltered, and uncompromising. It was Indian tobacco in its purest form, without artificial sweeteners or additives. Each puff left a harsh but authentic taste, as if one was smoking the red earth of the Deccan, mixed with the dust of the streets of Hyderabad. During the 1960s and 1970s, its popularity skyrocketed. Laborers, bus drivers, university professors, and soldiers, everyone knew Charminar. It wasn't a luxury cigarette, but it had something the others didn't, a deeply Indian identity. While Gold Flake and Will's Navy cut appealed to refinement, Charminar represented the strength of the people. It was the smoke of those who built the country brick by brick, their hands covered in sweat and hope. Advertisements of the time showed it this way: determined men with mustaches and steady gazes, lighting their Charminar with pride. In the train stations of the south, its smell mingled with that of masala chai and spices. It was part of the sensory landscape of urban India. As the years passed and new anti-smoking laws were introduced, Charminar began to disappear from shop windows. But its legacy lived on in the collective memory. Today, to mention Charminar is to evoke an unfiltered India, a nation under construction, courageous, imperfect, and deeply human. A cigarette that was not only smoked, it was remembered. 2. Golconda, the lost pride of the Deccan. Among the brands that defined the golden age of tobacco in India, Golconda shines like a forgotten jewel. Manufactured by the legendary Hyderabad Deccan Cigarette Factory, the same factory that created the immortal Charminar, Golconda was born to represent the spirit of the Deccan region. Strong, persistent, and deeply proud of its identity. Its name was no coincidence. Golconda refers to the ancient fortress that was once the heart of the world's diamond trade. And, like those gems, this cigarette was intended to be an Indian jewel, made with the highest quality local tobacco. Since its launch in the 1950s, Golconda was considered the cigarette of the elegant but hard-working man, the citizen who appreciated authenticity over imported luxury. Its flavor was robust, intense, and slightly spicy, a blend that evoked the hot southern soil and the spicy air of Hyderabad. It was not a cigarette for beginners. It was for smokers of character, accustomed to the real taste of tobacco without compromise. Its packaging, sober but distinguished, bore the pride of a brand made in India for Indians. During the 1960s and 1970s, Golconda found its audience among civil servants, railway workers, and merchants. It was more refined than Charminar, but still deeply national. Many remember it for its dense aroma, which lingered in government offices or bazaars at the end of the day. However, with the arrival of multinational brands and anti-smoking campaigns, Golconda began to slowly fade away. Today, it barely survives in the memory of a generation that saw in it more than just tobacco, a symbol of regional pride, Indian elegance, and a time when smoking was a daily ritual. Golconda was not just a cigarette, it was the nostalgic scent of an India that smoked with its soul. 3 Cavandos, the humble smoke that never gave up. Among the giants of Indian tobacco, there was a discreet, simple but unforgettable brand, Cavandos, produced by Godfrey Phillips. India, for decades, this brand reflected an India that lived between tradition and modernity, where not everyone could afford a luxury pack, but everyone wanted a cigarette with soul. Cavandos was born as the economical option in the Godfrey Phillips catalogue, the same giant that would later launch iconic brands such as Red and White and Foursquare. But while these were aimed at urban youth or upper middle class smokers, Cavandos became the silent companion of the common worker, the rickshaw driver, the office clerk, the street vendor. Its flavor was harsh but genuine, a dark tobacco with intense notes that lit quickly and burned fast, as if reflecting the pace of Indian life itself. The packaging, simple and unadorned, showed that it was not appearance that mattered, but content. During the 1970s and 1980s, Cavandos was everywhere, on dusty streets, in workshops, during factory breaks. It was cheap, accessible, and true to its purpose. Its smoke spoke not of status, but of effort. Over time, it disappeared amid new brands and changes in the country's habits. But those who remember it know that Cavandos was more than just a cheap cigarette. It was the humble respite of millions of Indians who faced the day with a lighter in one hand and hope in the other. Foursquare, the symbol of Indian style and rebellion. In 1980s, India, lighting up a Foursquare was almost a statement of identity. Also manufactured by Godfrey Phillips India, this cigarette represented not only modernity, but also freedom. Its slogan, "Live Life King Size," became an iconic phrase among urban youth who were beginning to see smoking as a way to express independence and ambition. Originally launched in the 1970s, Foursquare grew thanks to its unique combination of mild tobacco, refined aroma, and an aspirational image that set it apart from the rest. But its turning point came with the Foursquare King version, a long filter edition that offered a more elegant and longer-lasting experience. In 1988, Foursquare King became India's best-selling long filter brand, thanks to an impeccable strategy, modern advertising, a presence on university campuses, and a gold and blue design that conveyed sophistication. While other brands remained stuck in tradition, Foursquare seduced a generation that dreamed big. Its smoke was smooth, balanced, and distinctive, a symbol of the new India that wanted to look cosmopolitan without renouncing its roots. Today, Foursquare is remembered as the cigarette that marked an era, that of the young Indian who lit one up not just out of habit, but for style. 5. Scissors, the perfect cut of Indian tobacco. Among ITC Limited's most memorable icons, the Scissors cigarette occupies a special place. Launched in the 1960s, it quickly became one of India's most recognizable brands for a very curious reason. Its name and slogan, "Cut Your Own Style," were not just marketing, but a direct tribute to the tobacco production process. ITC used a technique of finely and precisely cutting the leaves, which resulted in a cleaner smoke and a more balanced flavor. Unlike the unfiltered cigarettes that dominated the market at the time, Scissors introduced a lightweight filter that reduced the harshness of the tobacco, making it smoother without losing intensity. It was the ideal middle ground between the roughness of Charminar and the elegance of Gold Flake. Its popularity skyrocketed in the 1970s and 1980s when ITC launched several versions, including Scissors Filter and Scissors Milds for different types of smokers. It was common to see its silver packs with red lettering in corner shops, offices, and train stations. Another interesting fact is that Scissors was one of the first Indian cigarettes to be used in lifestyle campaigns, featuring active and confident young people, which was revolutionary for advertising in the country. Although it eventually lost ground to more modern brands, Scissors is still remembered for its smooth aroma, clean aesthetics, and message of individuality. A cigarette that, true to its name, really cut its own path. 6. Red and white. Courage in every puff. There was something different about a red and white cigarette. It didn't have the golden sheen of the more expensive ones, nor the air of luxury of foreign brands, but that was precisely what made it unique. It was the cigar of the working man, the common man, the man who earned his living under the Delhi sun or in the factories of Mumbai. Manufactured by Godfrey Phillips India, red and white appeared in the 1970s as a simple but reliable alternative. Its balanced blend of Indian tobaccos delivered a direct, earthy flavor with a hint of harshness that many considered the true taste of hard work. Each puff had character without pretension. It was the cigarette shared during breaks at the workshop, at bus stops, or after a long night shift. But what really marked its legacy was its social spirit. In the 1990s, the company launched the Red and White Bravery Awards, which celebrated the courage of ordinary citizens. This transformed a simple cigarette brand into a symbol of national pride and courage. In the following years, the Red and White Super arrived, a long filter version that offered a smoother smoke, ideal for those seeking elegance without losing authenticity. Today, Red and White is still remembered not only for its unmistakable smoke, but for what it represented: the dignity of simplicity, the strength of everyday life, and the pride of being part of an India that smoked with soul. 7. Gold Flake, the gold that never fades. The aforementioned gold wandered through the dusty streets of old colonial India and the modern cafes of today. There's one name that has never completely disappeared: Gold Flake. Its history is a journey through time, a reflection of how elegance, habit, and identity intertwined in a cloud of golden smoke that marked generations. Originally born in Glasgow, Scotland, under the Stephen Mitchell and Son Company, Gold Flake was later adopted by W.D. and H.O. Wills, part of Imperial Tobacco, before reaching the heart of the Indian subcontinent. In the 1960s, ITC Limited began producing it in India, and since then, it has become much more than a cigarette. It was a symbol of refinement, aspiration, and status. Its slogan, focused on smoothness, was no coincidence. For decades, Gold Flake advertisements featured images of silk handkerchiefs, peacock feathers, violins, and dewdrops. Everything evoked an elegant, clean, almost poetic smoke. The Gold Flake consumer was not just anyone. They were someone looking for a more polished, smoother experience, as the brand insisted on reminding them with its famous phrase, "Go smooth." But what few people know is that the name Gold Flake comes from the type of tobacco used, a blend of light, golden leaves called bright, rich golden tobacco, famous for its balanced flavor and slightly sweet aroma. This formula, masterfully blended at ITC's plants, conquered the Indian market, making Gold Flake one of the most recognized names in the country. Over the years, the brand evolved. Iconic versions such as Gold Flake Kings, King's Lights, and later special editions with long filters and menthol flavors emerged. The company even experimented with innovations such as Gold Flake Mix Pod and Indie Mint, seeking to attract young modern smokers without losing its golden heritage. In the 1980s and 1990s, Gold Flake was no longer just a cigarette. It was a status symbol. Those who smoked Gold Flake were considered to have taste, but also roots. It was not the ostentation of foreign brands, but local elegance that did not need to shout to be recognized. In 1988, its Kings and Lights versions were among the best-selling in the country, surpassing even international competitors. Its legacy was not limited to flavor. In 1942, ITC officially registered the name Gold Flake, making it one of the oldest tobacco trademarks in India. Years later, in 2014, the company would win a legal battle against an imitation brand called National Gold Flake, defending its identity with the same force with which it had conquered the country's lungs. Over time, ITC adapted its strategy to the changing market. It introduced smaller 5-unit packs to make it more accessible, and premium versions available only at airports and exclusive locations. The brand even experimented with international editions, such as the mysterious Gold Flake Grease, a symbol of luxury limited to the most curious. Behind its golden shine lies something deeper, a story of perseverance, national identity, and nostalgia. Gold Flake accompanied soldiers on post-war trains, poets in cafes, workers at the end of a shift, and dreamers seeking respite from the chaos. Its golden smoke was more than a habit. It was a cultural brand, a small, everyday luxury that united entire generations under the same aroma. Gold Flake was not just a cigarette. It was an era where every puff tasted of India learning to dream big. 8. Will's Navy. Cut. The elegant smoke of the old Indian elite. Before modernity flooded the shelves, there was a cigarette that represented British distinction and calm adapted to the Indian soul. Will's Navy Cut. Manufactured by ITC Limited, for decades it was the cigarette of teachers, lawyers, civil servants and dreamers who believed in quiet elegance. Its packaging with a blue anchor on a white background evoked the seriousness of the ocean and the confidence of those who knew they had nothing to prove. The aroma was smooth, rounded, almost marine, a blend of tobacco selected with artisan precision. In the 1960s and 1970s, having a navy cut in your pocket was a symbol of respect. It was the cigarette of the cultured man, the morning newspaper reader, the office worker who lit one at the end of the day while watching the trains go by. With the arrival of more modern flavored cigarettes and competition from multinationals, Navy Cut gradually lost ground. But its name remains etched in the collective memory, like the echo of an era when smoke was synonymous with conversation, poetry, and dignity. 9. Passing Show, the ephemeral spectacle of Indian tobacco. Among the many brands that appeared and disappeared on the Indian tobacco scene, Passing Show was perhaps the most theatrical of all. Launched in the mid-20th century by the Golden Tobacco Company, it quickly became a favorite among artists, writers, and bohemians. Its name said it all. Life is a passing show, and this cigarette was its perfect intermission. It had a sweet, almost floral aroma and elegant packaging with gold cursive lettering that seemed to announce something important, like a film premiere. In the cafes of Bombay and Calcutta, it was common to see a musician or journalist with a packet of Passing Show on the table, alongside a notebook full of ideas and a glass of chai. It was not the cigarette of the masses, but of those who wanted to smoke with style and a touch of melancholy. In the late 1980s, the brand slowly faded away, swept away by new laws and changing habits. But its name remained as a metaphor for its fate. A passing show, a brief but unforgettable spectacle, like smoke that dissipates while leaving behind the aroma of another era. 10. Panama, the tropical whisper that closes our journey. We have reached the end of our journey, and we could not close with any other cigar than Panama. We left it for last because, more than a brand, it represents the feeling of completion. the perfect blend of history, nostalgia, and sophistication that deserves an epic ending. Panama is a cigar that captures in its smoke all the magic of an India that no longer exists, evoking memories that linger in the air. Produced by the aforementioned Golden Tobacco Limited, Panama offered an impressive variety. From the unfiltered versions, robust and full of character, to the Filter Kings and Filter Deluxe, smoother and more elegant. Each variant had its own charm. The unfiltered ones were for the brave, those who measured their strength by the punch of the tobacco, while the filtered ones offered a refined respite, ideal for those seeking smoothness without losing authenticity. One of the most fascinating curiosities of Panama was its twin brand strategy in the 1980s. Multiple versions with almost interchangeable names, slight differences in flavor, and almost identical packaging. This not only gave it versatility in the market, but also created an aura of mystery. There was always a surprise hidden in each packet, a little secret for those who really knew the brand. Panama's packaging, with its ship and bold lettering, evoked distant travels, adventure and aspiration. In villages, bazaars and cafes, seeing that packet was like finding a piece of the outside world, a promise of modernity and elegance that contrasted with the daily routine. Over time, the brand disappeared from the main markets, a victim of modernity, changing tastes, and stricter regulations. But for those who grew up with its smoke, Panama is not just a cigarette. It is a memory, a symbol of the history of tobacco in India, and the perfect way to end this journey with a golden sigh of nostalgia and respect. Panama deserves to be at the end because it is the epilogue to the story, the last smoke that reminds us that cigarettes are not just tobacco. They are memories that burn slowly, leaving an indelible trace. And so ends our journey through smoke and memories. If we have awakened in you the nostalgia of that first puff, like and subscribe to continue exploring the stories that time cannot extinguish. See you on the next adventure.